If you've got a lot of money, chances are you would have at least thought about buying one of these. It's the latest Range Rover Sport. Here we're checking out the P460e variant in HSE trim level. It's basically the ultimate bling of the automotive world. It shows everyone that, yeah, you've got a lot of money and you're doing very well. What I like about these though is the design. It's actually a really nice, consistent design, especially in this awesome rich blue color. And then the contrasting black options obviously give it a sporty, unmistakably Range Rover look. The latest model has got the full width tail light trim piece, although this is not actually a light. It just connects it all up so it's seamless and looks very nice and wide from the back. This example's got a ton of options. By the way, if you hear a buzzing sound, I've been here for about 10 minutes. I'm waiting for it to cool down, but there's a little fan or something going just to try and cool it down. I did give it a bit of a thrash down the winding road on the way down. But yeah, we've got a lot of different options here. And at first, you know, a car journalist might say, this is ridiculous, look at all these pricey options. But I don't think it matters to the person who's buying this. This retails from $188,100, excluding on-road costs. If you've got that much money, you know, you probably don't care about spending $1,000 on getting a different color brake caliper or something like that, just so it looks a bit different. But yeah, the 23-inch wheels, they're $3,000 roughly. It's got the SV bespoke ebony suede cloth headlining. It's got the convenience pack. It's got the cold climate pack. It's got the Stormer handling pack with all-wheel steering. It's so good with the all-wheel steering. It makes it feel like such a smaller vehicle. It really does. I'll show you in a minute. With electronic active differential with torque vectoring by braking. I don't really like torque vectoring by braking typically, but having driven this down the winding road already, it's actually pretty good. Like, you can't really feel it happening. And then it's got dynamic air suspension with Dynamic Response Pro. The air suspension is absolutely sublime. Again, as I'll show you in a second, I just want to highlight some of the options here. Black contrast roof. What else? Just a couple of other little trimmings and so on. Some of them are pricey, yes, but again, if you've got that much money, you probably want to spend a bit more to make yours a more exclusive package. The biggest option on this though is the, in terms of price, Velocity Blue color in gloss finish, $17,723. So if you spend that, you've got a very good chance that your neighbor or whatever is not going to have the same thing. You know, that's even for a person that's super rich, 17 grand just for a different color paint is probably like, better consider that for about 3 seconds and then have it on there, and you know you're going to stand out. You know you're going to be driving something slightly different to any other one. I just noticed this huge quarter window here. The pillars are completely concealed under the glass. It's just one glass panel, but there is actually a window there. It's just very tinted. But yeah, that's the kind of attention to detail you get with a Range Rover. There's just all these little details that you'll pick up after spending some time with it. And I like that this has got the optional black painted brakes. With red, it will just look a bit weird with this color, I reckon. And black just, yeah, it's a bit more subtle. It still has Brembo sitting there. They're floating discs as well. Actually really good brakes considering the weight of this. Obviously the star of the show though is the interior. Very nicely presented. These seats are so soft and comfortable, like you actually sink into them a little bit, like a lounge chair at your house. And also when I was driving along, I could feel my bum, I could feel it in my bum sort of thing, the seat cushioning dropping down as I'm going over bumps. So it's actually absorbing some of the impacts, even though it does have a very nice air suspension ride quality. You've got the latest POV Pro touchscreen setup and then a smallish digital instrument cluster. I do like that that's pretty small and just, yeah, not in your face with this big digital screen all the way across the dash, because it means you've still got design detail to look at. I find screens just take away real estate for design because they're just a flat screen. You know, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the graphics are really nice, but there's not much else you can do about that. There's just a flat screen. Whereas when you have them a bit smaller, you can actually have a nice dash. Here you've got material all across the top, leather down here. It all feels very well made and luxurious. There's not heaps of storage around actually. There's this big blank spot here. I don't know, something should go there, I reckon. You've got a wireless charger, twin cup holders. You can actually slide this. You've got even more storage down there. Hopefully you can see down there in the dark. And a big center console box. The only thing that annoys me about this car is so many beeps and bongs. As soon as you do anything at all, almost, something will beep at you. Something's telling you to do something. I wish there was a big off button that you could just get in and just go, I don't want any warnings at all. I'm just going to drive the car as a human being. Just shut up and let me drive. There is a system in here that's actually quite good. You go into the, sorry, I'm going to have to shut the door. You go into the driver assistance page, and then you've got this little menu, and you can just hit low, and that converts everything to sort of a quieter setting. So you've got the lane keep assist turned off, for example. That's just easier to jump to that, but I think you can make that menu, give it a shortcut so it's easier to access. But yeah, at the moment you've got to go to this app menu, then you've got to slide down driver assistance. But yeah, I think you can add it to a shortcuts page somewhere. But yeah, that's quite a nice touch screen. There's a little bit of lag still going into some menus. Like just then, that was just hitting the mode. That was quicker that time. And you can turn the stop start off, and you can configure the hybrid system. So this features a plug-in hybrid setup with a 3-litre straight 6 petrol engine. Combined, you've got 335 kilowatts, very nice amount of power. And yeah, you can configure this driving in EV mode, hybrid mode, or save mode. I've been driving in save just to keep the battery level up before we do the performance testing. It's averaging 10.4 in that save mode. I've only been driving for around, I don't know, 50 kilometers or something like that. So you could definitely get it a little bit lower just driving in hybrid mode rather than in save mode, because that's going to just rely on the petrol engine to kind of charge the battery or keep the battery charged. And then up at the back here, all your typical amenities that you'd expect: flip down armrest, cup holders that pop out, full climate control. There's actually a power socket down there with an Australian outlet plug. And you've got full adjustment for the seat. So you can recline this. So I'm just trying to, a big weird bit of sun across the camera. That's a bit better. Yeah, you can recline this and just sit back and relax. I mean, I've got heaps of legroom in my seating configuration and more than enough headroom. And up at the back, nice big boot. It's got these little bags for the charging, and you can strap them down to the hooks there so they don't move around. Then you've got little park bench that you can sit back and relax, do some fishing or whatever you want to do, have a picnic. Under the bonnet, you've got a 3-litre turbo petrol inline 6 engine with plug-in hybrid technology, matched up to an 8-speed automatic with all-wheel drive. 338 kilowatts from 5.5 to 6,500 RPM, and 660 Newton meters from 2,000 to 5,000 RPM. In terms of the fuel economy, you've got 1.6 litres per 100 kilometres, but like with all plug-in hybrids, the way they test vehicles, it runs for about 20 minutes to 30 minutes, depending on whether it's NEDC or WLTP. And a lot of that is usually in electric mode, so you're not using any petrol at all. It'd be good if they tested or incorporated, for plug-in hybrids, there's a part that incorporates, you know, driving when you are relying on the petrol engine, because you can't drive on electric power constantly. This only offers a small range, but you could technically drive it to work and back or to the office or whatever and not use any petrol at all, and just plug it in when you get to the office or plug it in when you get back home. So that is good, especially in cities where they have emissions restrictions and all of that. So you could drive this as an electric vehicle, as an EV, and then when you get out into the open, you can just revert back to the hybrid mode. So we'll go for a drive now, and I'll show you what it's like, and then we'll try and do some dirt driving. I don't want to go too crazy with these big 23-inch wheels, but we'll give it a go up that hill climb we've been doing, and then we'll get stuck into the performance testing. First thing you'll notice, yeah, is the ride comfort. It really is beautiful. It's like riding on air. Oh, hang on, it is riding on air. But yeah, it feels like you're just floating on a cloud. Even the sharpest little bumps and ripples and so on, they're just a minor little disturbance. They don't shake you around at all. And as I said, the seat cushion actually has a bit of suspension in it as well. And not in like a, that kind of sounds like it would be annoying, but not in an annoying way. It's still keeping me nice and firm in the seat, but it's just even more comfortable. I've just got it in the normal mode at the moment, except for in the save mode, just to keep the battery charged up. There is a dynamic mode, which we'll flick it over to in a second, but as a default setup, this is a really nice driver's SUV. It doesn't feel, I mean, this thing weighs just over 2.7 tons. It does not feel that heavy. It's, you know, that's like a Land Cruiser or a Nissan Patrol or something. This feels like a much more sportier and nimbler vehicle. You do notice its size. It's not a small vehicle, and I am sitting pretty high up, but it doesn't feel intimidating at all. I'll push it a bit harder in a second and show you what it's like, but just driving normal, it just means that it's more relaxing and calming. It doesn't feel like it's a big truck, you know, it's going to tip over or anything like that, or yeah, just too hard to manage down a tight winding road like this. Most of the time when you're just cruising, it's getting a lot of assistance from the electric motor, so it's quiet. But when you push it a little bit, the inline six does have a bit of a raspy tone to it, which is nice. I'll just give it some. It's not too loud at all, but it's just letting you know, it's just giving a bit of a roar that you're giving it full power, which is nice. I think that's a perfect soundtrack for this style of vehicle. I mean, apart from the old V8, that was cool, just driving around in something like this with a burbling V8 going and, you know, coming out the exhaust at the back. But as it is, considering the fuel economy benefits and the potential to drive on electric power, the performance of this is really good. It actually feels very punchy, and like it wants to get up and go. It's a good mixture, I reckon, a good blend. All right, let's try out dynamic mode and give it some. Got paddle shifters behind here, so I can change gear myself if I want to. There's a little bit of fake noise coming through the cabin, but actually sounds better when it's not in dynamic mode, so you don't have that fake sound. But it's just a, you know, very subtle note. The handling is absolutely amazing. Considering this size and weight, it's just punching around and pointing around, darting around like a much smaller car. It's crazy. That's a lot of power going around there, and it just held on, no understeer, nothing. Yeah, look at that, just throwing between this little switch back there. And you've still got that comfortable ride, like it's still absorbing the bumps without disturbing the direction, but also without disturbing your comfort. Good low end punch, so even when you're in a higher gear, the electric motor will help boost the engines like an extra turbo or anti-lag. Yeah, that's amazing. It's a really nice handling vehicle, let alone for a massive SUV. For the way back down, I'll just put it in comfort mode and just see how it handles with some sporty driving. After all, it is a Range Rover Sport. Yeah, it's still fine. There's not heaps of body roll or anything like that. It doesn't feel intimidating. Let's go over these bumps just here. Yeah, really nice. Look at that. Just throw it back in. That's incredible. Like, sometimes people ask me, oh, why would you spend money on an expensive car? It's the same as a cheap car. It's really not. Like, if you get a cheap SUV and push it down here, it's gonna feel really uncomfortable. The tires are gonna start squealing and it just doesn't want to be here. Whereas this, it's actually handling really nicely. Obviously, no SUV is made for sporty driving, but sometimes it helps if you're gonna, you know, going for a weekend away and you've got to drive up a mountain. Then if it's able to do this stuff, you can just drive at a normal pace and it's really comfortable. Like it doesn't, as I said before, it doesn't feel like a big truck that I'm trying to turn around corners. And it's enjoyable, that's the main thing. I've woken up to a pretty miserable day. It's been raining all morning, but that's all right. Range Rovers were born in this sort of climate. Yes, that was a pretty weak dig at the British. So what I'm going to do is activate some of these off-road modes to see if it can actually drive off-road in pretty serious conditions. Now this hill, it might not look that steep on camera, but it is pretty much the steepest that I'd be willing to take on in a factory vehicle. And I think this is probably the maximum of what a typical off-road buyer, like an SUV buyer, would be willing to take their brand new vehicle. I've got it in the mud ruts mode. We'll hit low range as well. Low range selected. Now ordinarily I try to attack this hill in the sort of basic mode and then work my way up. But in the wet conditions like this, I don't want it to get a bit hairy or dangerous. We can try like rock crawl and so on and just slow things down, but in my experience with this hill, I can't say it for other off-road conditions, but it's so slippery on the surface that when you're going slowly, you can actually like squirm and slide your way into a situation where you can't get it out. So at first I'm just going to attack it with my method, which is just use a little bit of speed, a little bit of momentum to keep it skipping along the top, and then you've still got a bit of direction, a bit of control, so I can aim it where I want it to go. And after the first attempt, I will try to slow things down and just try some of these modes and see how it goes. But I've been up here in the wet a couple of times now and tried out, like even in the Lexus GX, tried out the slow crawl control mode, which is an excellent mode, but even it just gets to a point where it's spinning all four wheels slowly and it just can't make any more progress. And then it's squirming and sort of sliding its way into a situation where I don't want to be. So anyway, we'll try my mode first. I've got stability control left on, I haven't touched the button. I'm just in mud ruts and in low range. So I'll just keep a bit of speed going. I've got the ride height in the highest setting. Yeah, wow, that went up very easily. I'm very impressed with that. Considering the conditions and considering this doesn't feature, you know, super chunky off-road tires, that's done really, really well. I'm very impressed. We'll check out how we go down this little flexing area. I think we should be right. I'm just going to stick it over to the side here. Yep, beautiful. I don't even know if the wheel came off the ground at all. It might have a little bit, that back wheel, but you do have a very long range suspension with it lifted all the way up. So now we'll try this little side area. It should be all right on this. This is mainly just rocky surface on the bottom, so it should be okay with traction, and we've got a lot of clearance, so it should be okay walking its way up this. We'll see how we go. This one I can slow it down and just rely on the electronics a little bit just to help me, because you've got that rocky surface providing the grip. Yeah, wow, I was not expecting that. To be honest, I was a little bit worried about coming up here in the full raining, wet conditions. I only wanted to do it once, just in case I damaged the rim or the expensive paint or whatever. But after doing a few takes and getting a few external shots and whatever, it does it so easily. The electronics constantly manage the traction and figure it out. Way better than any dual cab diesel ute that I've driven up here. I mean, you'd expect that, it is a lot more expensive, but yeah, I could do this again and again and again with full confidence. It doesn't ever slide or squirm out of control. It just goes exactly where you point it. It's amazing. And with the suspension raised up, you've got plenty of clearance. It didn't touch or anything the whole time I've been here. So very impressive work. It is good to see that the Range Rovers still carry through plenty of their excellent off-road tradition. All right, let's head out now to do the performance test and see how it goes. I'll have to get a towel or something to dry off.